That's all I can see, I says. Well, Nevy man, you won't be found dead in it because it's part of my trousseau. And Mr. Whitaker took several dozen photographs of me in it, says Stella Rhonda. What on earth could Uncle Rhonda mean wearing my trousseau out in broad open daylight without so much as saying, kiss my foot? Knowing I only got home this morning after my separation, hung my negligee up on the bathroom door, just as nervous as I could be. Well, I'm sure I don't know. And what do you expect me to do about it? Jump out the window? No, I expect nothing of the kind. I simply declare that Uncle Rhonda looks like a fool in it, that's all, she says. It makes me sick to my stomach. Well, he looks as good as he can, I says. As good as anybody in reason could. I stood up for Uncle Rhonda. Please remember. And I said to Stella Rhonda, I think I would do wise not to criticize so freely if I were you and came home with a 2-year-old child I never so much as said a word about, and no explanation for my separation. I asked you the instant I entered this house not to refer one more time to my adopted child, and you gave me your word of honor you would not. That's all Stella Rhonda could say, and started pulling out every one of her eyebrows with some cheap caress tweezers. So I merely slammed the door behind me and went down and made some green tomato pickle. Somebody had to do it. 'Cause Mama had turned both the Negroes loose. She always said no earthly power could hold one anyway on the 4th of July, so she wouldn't even try. Turned out that J-Pan fell in the lake and nearly drowned. So Mama trots in, lifts up the lid, and says, not very good for your Uncle Rhonda in his precarious condition. Oh, poor little Shirley T. Shame on you. Well, that made me tired. I says, well, Stella Rhonda better thank her lucky stars it was her instead of me came trotting in with that very peculiar looking child. Now, if it had been me that trotted in from Illinois and brought a peculiar looking child too, I shudder to think of the reception I'd have got, much less controlled the diet of an entire family. But you must remember, sister, that you were never married to Mr. Whitaker in the first place and didn't go up to Illinois to live, says Mama, shaking a spoon in my face. If you had, I'd been just as overjoyed to see you and your little adopted girl as I was to see Stella Rhonda when you wound up with your separation and came on back home. You would not, I says. Don't contradict me, says Mama. But I said she couldn't convince me, though she talked till she was blue in the face. Then I said, besides, you know as well as I do, that child is not adopted. She most certainly is adopted, says Mama. stiff as a poker. I says, why, Mama, Stella Rhonda, just as sure as anything in this world, just too stuck up to admit it. Why, sister, says Mama, here I thought we were gonna have a pleasant 4th of July, and you start right on not believing a word your own baby sister tells you. Just like Cousin Annie Flo went to her grave denying the facts alive. I told you if you ever mention Annie Flo's name, I'd slap your face, says Mama. And slaps my face. All right. You wait and see, I says. Says Mama, I prefer to take my children's word for anything when it's humanly possible. You ought to see Mama. She weighs about 200 pounds and has real tiny feet. Just then, something perfectly horrible occurred to me. Mama, I says, can that child talk? I simply had to whisper, Mama, I wonder if that child can be, in any way, do you realize? She hasn't spoken one single silent to tell word to a human being up to this minute. This is the way she looks, I said, and I look like this. Well, I remember well that Joe Whitaker frequently drank like a fish, says Mama. I believe to my soul he drank chemicals. And without another word, she marched to the foot of the stairs and called Stella Rhonda. Stella Rhonda! Ooh, Stella Rhonda! What? Says Stella Rhonda from upstairs. Not even the grace to get off the bed. Can that child of y'all talk? Asked Mama. Can't you what? Talk! Talk! Birdie, 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 birdie. So Stella Rhonda yells back, who says she can't talk? Sister says so, says Mama. You don't have to tell me. I know whose word of honor don't mean a thing in this house, says Stella Rhonda. And in a minute, the loudest Yankee voice I ever heard in my life yells out, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man, boop, boop. And then somebody jumps up and down in the upstairs hall, and in another second, the house would have fallen down. Not only talks, she can tap dance, called Stella Rhonda, which is more than some people I won't name can do. Why, the precious little darling, Mama says, so surprised. Just as smart as she can be. Starts talking baby talk right there. Then she turns on me. Sister, you ought to be thoroughly ashamed. Now, run upstairs this instant and apologize to Stella Rhonda and Shirley T. Apologize? For what? I says I merely wondered if the child was normal, that's all. Now that she's proved she is, why, I have nothing further to say. But Mama just turned on her heel and flew out furious. She ran right upstairs and hugged the baby. She believed it was adopted. Stella Rhonda had nothing but turn her against me from upstairs while I stood there helpless over the hot stove. So that made Mama, Papa Daddy, and the baby all on Stella Rhonda's side. Next, Uncle Rondo. Now, I must say that Uncle Rondo has been marvelous to me at various times in the past, and I was completely unprepared to be made to jump out of my skin the way it turned out. Once Stella Rhonda did something perfectly horrible to him, broke a chain letter from Flanders Field. And he took the radio back he had given her and gave it to me. Stella Rhonda was furious. For 6 months, all I had to call her Stella instead of Stella Rhonda, or she wouldn't answer. I always thought that Uncle Rhonda had all the brains of the entire family. Another time, he sent me to Mammoth Cave with all expenses paid. But this would be the day he was drinking. That prescription, the 4th of July. So at supper, Stella Rhonda speaks up and she says, Uncle Rhonda ought to try to eat a little something. So finally Uncle Rhonda said he would try a little cold biscuits and ketchup, but that was all. So she brought it to him. Do you think it wise to disport with ketchup in Stella Rhonda's flesh-colored kimono? I says. Trying to be considerate. If Stella Rhonda wasn't going to watch out for her true self, someone had to. Any objections? Asked Uncle Rhonda, just about to pour out all the ketchup. I don't mind what she says. Sis has been devoting this solid entire afternoon to sneering out my bedroom window at the way you look. What's that? Says Uncle Rhonda. Now, Uncle Rhonda has got the most terrible temper in the world. Anything is liable to set him off and make him tear the house down if it comes at the wrong time. So Stella Rhonda says, Sister says, Uncle Rhonda certainly does look like a fool in that pink kimono. Do you remember who it was who really said that? Uncle Rhonda spills out all the ketchup and jumps out of the chair and tears off the kimono and throws it down on the dirty floor and puts his foot on it. It had to be sent all the way to Jackson to the cleaners and repleated. So that's your opinion of your Uncle Rhonda, is it? I look like a fool, do I? Well, that's the last straw. Whole day in this house with nothing to do, and then to hear you come out with a remark like that behind my back. I didn't say any such a thing, Uncle Rhonda, I says. And I'm not saying who did either. Why, I think you look all right. Just try to take care of yourself and not talk and eat at the same time. I says, I think you better go lie down. Lie down my foot, says Uncle Rhonda. Oh, I ought to have known